Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I have to say, I just had an experience I never thought I would have. I did. I felt like I was standing in the Coalition Party room hearing a speech from your side of the debate, and I thank you for it because I can't really disagree with anything that was said by my friend and colleague, the member for Berowra.
You're very generous.
I am very generous, but I think it's fair to say that there are some reasonable people opposite on this side of the debate. I read the report last night because this is a matter in which I have great interest as an Australian and a legislator, but also as someone who represents a community in this parliament, a seat where 53% of people were born in another country. So this is of great relevance to my electorate and the people I represent in their daily lives. I read the report and I actually cracked up laughing last night. I read the recommendations and my staff has said, "What on earth is wrong?" hearing me shrieking with laughter on the couch. And I said, after all this fanfare, after all the forests felled by the Australian newspaper, 500,000 plus words on this we had. Crikey actually counted them for us. After all the drumbeats from the monkey pod, we were going to let the racists unleash, say whatever they wanted to say. The answer's the process. Who knew? There's nothing wrong with the law. We don't need to change the law. After 6 years of scaring the bejesus out of multicultural Australia and people who live in my electorate, it's the process. Fantastic. And the report really, when you strip away, says nothing. It's like the government. It goes on and on and on, and there is no point to it. It is a great disappointment. Now, I think it's fair to say that what the member for Berowra said about the process changes are reasonable. Sure. But it's like reading a business process consultant that you hire, not the top-tier consulting firms, those kind of mid-tier ones where you want a lower daily rate to come in and do really bleedingly obvious stuff to re-engineer your processes and give them a bit of an overhaul. But that's the report. Now, of course, if the Attorney-General actually had a relationship with the Human Rights Commissioner, actually had some decency to sit down with Professor Triggs and listen like a normal minister. Sure, thank you.
Order.
If there was actually a conversation going in the normal business of government, then many of these issues would have been fixed. They wouldn't need a parliamentary inquiry with 420 submissions, 9 days of public hearings all over the country that went for months, 200 pages. They could just do it as the normal business of government because many of these suggestions are exactly what they've been calling for. So fantastic. The parliament agrees. The only omission in that sense in the report is an apology to her for the way which many members opposite, particularly your senators, have spoken to her and treated her in this place when she appears to do her job. So with regard to 18C, there is no case for change. The report makes that clear. The best they could come up with, those opposite, was to say, well, on one hand someone said this, and on the other hand someone said that. But we don't need to do anything because there is no problem with the law. 18C is settled jurisprudence. The Deputy Secretary of the Attorney-General's Department said so. He quoted Justice Keifel. Only profound and serious effects, not mere slights, can be prosecuted under this law. And the Deputy Secretary also said, when you change a judicially well understood term or set of terms, you create an incentive to relitigate. So fiddling around with these words, this kind of fantasy from the IPA that we'll cross this word out, we'll add this word in, and maybe we'll write harass instead of insult, and that'll be cute, we've done something. All that would do is cause another decade of legal cases to try and figure out what the parliament meant by that word change. It's completely unnecessary. So thank you. We've established that there is no case for change. Yet despite this, for years and years and years, the government has been intent on scaring multicultural Australia. This is not an intellectual exercise, much as it may feel so to the IPA writing their little essays on the whiteboards or wherever the collective brain cell resides. People are genuinely scared. Now, during this debate, I think in December, I hosted a public meeting in Dandenong along with the member for Isaacs. And we had, on very short notice, about 250 people turn up. It was advertised publicly on Facebook, not stacked with supporters. We heard tale after tale after tale of real-life racism that people in our communities experience. As the member for Brand was saying, that's something that we could be talking about. We heard people complain that their little community groups that used to get support from the Human Rights Commission for anti-racism campaigns has no funding and support. But instead, the government's resources and the parliament's time is diverted onto this intellectual frolic, thinking about how can we water down the race protection laws so people can say more racist things. And it's not just because of this debate. It's not just because stuff happens in society. We also heard from people who directly related the racist incidents that they had experienced on the street and on the bus to these inquiries. Because leadership matters. People in society, human beings, take their signals as to what is acceptable behaviour from their leaders. It may not seem that way, given the way we behave here at times, but people in the community take cues from political leaders. People in schools take cues from leaders of schools. And this parliament, spending year after year after year debating whether it's okay to say more racist things, actually has real-world impacts in the community. And funnily enough, not one person at that public meeting, not one person, spoke up in favour of watering down 18C, not one. But so at a political level, we have no resolution for the government. The government MPs, as you can see from this report, could not agree on a position. They're hopelessly divided. As Australia knows, they're out of touch. This is not a barbecue stopper. I think even the Deputy Prime Minister admitted yesterday that when people in his electorate drag him into a shed, goodness only knows what happens then, but when they drag him into the proverbial shed, they don't talk to him about this. This is not a priority for people in the real world, outside the right wing of the Liberal Party. People on our side and in my community want to know where their jobs are coming from. They want to know how their kids are going to get a decent education when school funding is cut. $29 million my electorate will lose when the Gonski money goes. They want to know how their kids can go to hospital. They want to know how we're going to actually compromise like grown-ups and put the budget back on a sustainable path. But no, the government is arguing over how to let people say more racist things. Well, what happens now with regard to 18C? Unfortunately, people must still be concerned, despite the fact this report paints no case for change. Given we're in a coalition party room meeting, it's up to the Prime Minister apparently, and that atmosphere is febrile. The member for Berowra, however you say it, he explained to us before that the debate is finished. It's over. The report has killed it. Well, I don't know whether he's talked to Senator Patterson, who says, we're going, the case has been made out, we're going to fight to the death. It's kind of like the zombie budget cuts, isn't it? Except you can kill a zombie. You have to cut their brains out. It's hard to get through the cranium, but you can kill a zombie. No. Unfortunately, it appears there is no brain cell in the government, so you can't kill these measures. I mean, we could go on with the other analogies, you know, the dead parrot, the Monty Python dead parrot, the knights who say nee, 'tis but a flesh wound. We've taken a bit off the right wing of the Liberal Party, but still we go on. This is red meat to the base. This is red meat to the base. And you know, when you sit on our side of the chamber and look across, you see behind the Prime Minister a sort of a reasonable balance of modern Australia. You have some women, and then you look around and there's this whole segment where you see the same bloke. Sometimes he's 30, sometimes he's 40, sometimes he's 50, but it's the same white bloke in a blue suit having this intellectual debate about whether people should be allowed to say more racist things in our communities. Well, perhaps this report will actually be good enough. Perhaps this report will be good enough.
The member for Goldstein.
Perhaps for once the chair of the committee will not be a misnomer. So what else did we learn from the report? Well, we learnt the case for change is about what's unsaid, apparently. It's a chilling effect. I can see that. Have you got the little emails, the form emails from people coming in now, the last desperate cry of the IPA? Someone's pressed a button and there's a chilling effect.
Yeah, the Australian's been chilled.
But what did the inquiry hear? Multiple witnesses, when pressed, could not provide even one example of things that couldn't be published. Hundreds of thousands of cartoons. One complaint. One person said, well, there were a few Andrew Bolt articles that we probably reconsidered. Well, that probably shows the law's working fine if it gets people to stop and think before firing off more racist rants. There is nothing of substance. Racism is always about, and Australia is no different. Most people are good, some are racist. But we forget the lessons of history at our peril. Racist hate speech drives racist violence and these laws must stay.
I thank the member